Hello everybody! Element 12 here. You might have noticed I got a haircut and that makes me sad. But I am here to say something fun, which is, because we're in March, which as you can tell it is March 3rd, we're gonna do Fire Emblem March. You might be thinking, but Element 12, that's me by the way, this is February would be a better time because it would be Fire Emblem February because of the scheme. But no, actually it does make, you have a good point, sir, if you point that out, but I'm not going to do that. Mostly because during Fire Emblem February I was too busy playing Fire Emblem. So I'm going to actually just spend a few days, like every Sunday in March, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sundays in March, I'm going to take a look at a Fire Emblem game and tell you my opinion on it. So, and also, one big thing. I'm only covering the main series that came out in America. So don't, hey, you forgot Tracia 7-6A genealogy. No, I'm not doing those. But yeah, let's start Fire Emblem March with Fire Emblem. No, I know we're talking about Fire Emblem, but no, just Fire Emblem. Okay, this is confusing. Let me go over this. Okay, Fire Emblem is a Game Boy Advance game that came out in America. It came out in America 2003, also same year as it came out in Japan. But in Japan, it was released under the title Reika no Ken, which translates to the Sword of Flame, or as a lot of fans call it, Blazing Sword. But in America, we just got it as Fire Emblem, which is fun. It's like, hey, I want to look up a copy of Fire Emblem. It's like, no, you want Fire Emblem this, you want this, you want that, you want that, you want that, you want that. No! I don't want those. I want just plain frickin' ass Fire Emblem. So that's kind of annoying doing a Google search for Fire Emblem, and you come up with every other Fire Emblem game that exists. But anyway, the first Fire Emblem game that came out in America, called Fire Emblem, which I do believe is actually the 6th Fire Emblem game that came out in Japan, but it was the 7th one actually. Yeah, the 7th one, and we just got it as the first one, which is kind of lame. But if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me because I'm not 100% sure about the years and the Japan stuff. But I'm going to tell you basically more about the American side of it. Fire Emblem is basically about a girl named Lynn, who is basically who finds a tactician, which is you, which is the first and one of the only of the main series games, except for the most recent one, to have a nameable tactician. Which in that game, it didn't really make too much of a difference, because you basically put your name, your birthday, and your gender, and some of the conversations were different. I think the gender conversation changed, but what your birthday is depends on different units getting different stats, because like, if your birthday, for each month, you get like a sort of like a constellation. It's not real constellations, but it's like sun, moon, something like that. And if somebody else has the same thing, then they get a boost as well. So that's kind of fun. But it's a really fun game. Obviously, the Fire Emblem series, if you don't know, is a series of tactical role-playing games, as opposed to the typical like Final Fantasy role-playing game where it's like you just attack, and do stuff like that. This one basically is each enemy has like a turn. Like, your guys have a turn, you move all your units, and then the enemy has a turn, they move all their units. And basically, usually the mission is that the first team to lose is basically the loser. So it's a pretty simple gameplay style. And while I'm talking, I'm going to be showing a few little like snippets of gameplay, so you'll get to see what I'm talking about. But it's a really fun game. I played it. Obviously, I'm going to remain this spoiler-free. But the big goal of Fire Emblem games is to basically recruit people, like that could be either enemies, NPCs, or just people who join you eventually, to join your team and level them up, get them all super strong in order to defeat the bad guys, essentially. The main crew is, like I said, Lynn, and then you get two other characters, Eliwood and Hector. Hector is a personal favorite of mine from the Fire Emblem series, but just because Hector's cool. But yeah, if you've ever played Super Mario Bros. Brawl, Lynn is actually one of the assist trophies, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, this is probably one of the better ones. Like, according to, I think IGN, I think I somewhere said, I forgot what website said, but there's a website, a lot of websites claim this to be like the best Fire Emblem game of all time. Even fans consider this like the best Fire Emblem game of all time. Which, I would say it's probably one of the best. In my opinion, I don't know if it's like the best, but I think it's pretty good. Like, obviously it's a really, Fire Emblem series is a really hard series. Especially for like, I can barely beat most of the games on normal. I think I beat one on hard, I forgot which one. There wasn't this one though, because I haven't quite beaten this one. I've gotten really close, I'm like at the end, but I haven't beat it yet. So, that's kind of a bummer. Which I plan to beat at some point, I don't know when. But, also, it's worth mentioning that there's a prequel game, which actually came out before it, so it's actually technically the first game, which we never got, which is called Furin no Suguri, I believe. Something like that. Which it translates into The Binding Blade, which people call it Sealed Sword, but the official American translation is Binding Blade. So, ha! You're all wrong! No, I'm just kidding. But that game is pretty popular because it has Roy in it. Roy's our boy! Roy's our boy! But yeah, it has Roy in it. Because it's basically a sequel. But obviously I'm not going to spoil too much because I'm going to keep it spoiler free. But yeah. But I've only played a little bit of Binding Blade because it's not released in America. So I play an emulator of it, but don't play emulators. They're illegal technically. So I don't endorse emulators. Ding. Okay. But yeah, I played a little bit of a ROM translated emulator thing, and it was okay. They say it's supposed to be harder, but I don't know. I haven't gotten very far in it. Because I'm not an emulator guy. I don't like playing emulators. But yeah, so Fire Emblem, or Fire Emblem Seal, Blazing Sword, Sword of Flame, whatever you want to call it. It's a pretty good game. I don't know, there's a few issues with it. Like, it's really high in difficulty, so if you're a person that's like, oh, I'm more of a casual kind of thing, you're not going to really enjoy it, because it's really, really freaking hard. But, there's a few little minor things that have annoyed me about it, but I think overall, Fire Emblem game is one of the best Fire Emblem games. So, if you find it, it's kind of not super expensive. Like, I just bought a copy recently, since I never owned a copy. I've always borrowed a friend's copy to play it. But I bought a copy of mine about a few months ago, and I bought it on Amazon for, I believe, no, on eBay. On eBay for 25 bucks, so it's pretty decent price. It's not super expensive, but you'll have to look hard, because... Also be careful, because if you look, you're probably going to find other Fire Emblem games, not just one like I complained about before. But yeah, so that's Fire Emblem Blazing Sword / Binding Blade, whatever you want to call them. But next week, I'll be talking about Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. This is Element 12, and I'll see you guys then. Oh, one thing real quick. I want to throw this in. Is that on the last day of Fire Emblem March, which would be the 31st, which actually the last day of March. It's March. MARTHMARCH! It's called MARTHMARCH! So at the end of that, I will be doing a Fire Emblem Let's Play on my channel. Which one? Well, you'll have to see to find out. But yeah, on March 31st, I will be debuting the Fire Emblem game that I'm going to be playing for my Let's Play. So, until next week, the 10th, where I'll be talking about Sacred Stones, I'll see you guys later.